Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist, humanist, philosopher, and prehistorical writer researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, anti-theism, anti-religionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudohistory, pseudomorality, things that are found in religion. I support realism, axiology, of course, liberty, justice, ethics. I am also an anarchist socialist. I support anarchism and socialism, progressivism, liberalism, philosophy, psychology, archaeology, and anthropology, advocating for sexual, gender, child, secular, LGBTQIA+, race, class rights, and equality. So if you can guess from all that, I support or challenge that I have an eclectic variety of videos on a variety of topics. Please take time to check them out, as well as if you enjoy them, please give them a like. And don't forget to subscribe, as new things are on their way all the time for my channel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Other shit happened, obviously, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy because I've been working for years, about over 10 years. I don't know exactly, could be 15, but I've been working on my book, The Tree of Lies, Exposing
Mhm.
the Evolution of Religion and Removing the Rationale of Faith. And the reason is because it's mainly a lot of archaeology of religion. And so
Right.
I did like 200 pieces of art that has like research stuff on it that like it's a tool to help people understand like what I believe happened or why.
Mhm.
So I've been drawing it for, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. It feels like forever. And I just finished yesterday.
Cool.
So I'm really happy. Especially because I show how the connection to the Mayans and Asia and the Middle East and Europe, and I explain why, what happened, and first off, it's not aliens, obviously.
Of course.
It's not one culture, obviously.
Right.
It's more like a cultural idea,
Right.
like a cultural package, in other words. Just like when people think of the Neolithic Revolution, it wasn't like one culture that did all that of all of Europe. It's like, I don't know, 15, 30 different cultures or something. So
Yeah.
the point is, though, they don't call it that. People label it the Neolithic Revolution and say the Neolithic package, which was farming before it was hunter-gatherers. Anyways, my point is, the same idea of this cultural thing of male dominance and sexism and the state and control and cracking people in the head who are your lessers. This became the norm, and I talk about it. Anyways. But it all has to do with religion too. Everything's tied in. It's not
Right. Right.
because it starts basically as ritual killings, and then eventually it just becomes war and just mindless murder. But anyways, yeah. So I mean, it's complicated, really, 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 really hard stuff, and I'm trying to make it like almost high school level understanding.
Yeah. And that's hard.
It's like doctorate level shit that nobody practically knows, and I'm trying to make it understandable to someone who just went through high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm doing another Our Path to Religion, and I'm on dreams right now because dreams are part of what gave us our well, mammals dream. All mammals dream. It wasn't until
I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
To me, like if you ask me, like when did compassion happen, I would say in fish. It didn't happen in humans. It happened long, long, long time ago. To me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yes, I'm all for evolution. Well, I'm for facts. So.
Right. And so the question becomes then, why didn't we get like religion like 2 million years ago when the hominins evolved? And
well, I think that the brain, because it does seem to me, because I do it from 3 million years, actually, and then all the way down. Because 3 million years of stone tools get started. 3.2, 3.4, there's evidence of bones in Africa being in a sense, 2 marks that look like a stone tool cut them to get meat off. But there's no evidence of that stone tool at that age. But at 300,000, whatever, there's one at that, an actual stone tool. And I start there to explain all that. Because to me, you can see this tool starts real rudimentary. And then as the brain develops, so does the technology. And you start to see the technology go from crude to a little less crude, and then a little bit more refined. And then at 1 million years, it's the beginning. As you talked about, like, why did religion? I think, to me, religion is like a symbolic behavior that we do because we like symbolic behaviors. Many people, in fact, feel comfortable doing things that people would say is OCD, like over cleaning or over checking, locks or something. But to me, I think that we're, in a sense, psychological beings that we're seeing as always being negative. Like some things that we do become negative, but it's really just the overuse. It's like sex is fine, but too much sex or even sometimes violence is necessary in the world. But too much is everything is so. To me, our psychology, having OCD kind of a behavior could be good. Cleaning, I mean, that washing our hands every time, that can be a good thing. You know what I'm saying? But it can also lead towards these repetitive behaviors that we do that comfort us, that soothe us. When we chant, when we do, we're emotional beings. So when we do like different stuff, we like our minds excited. So to me, I see it as the beginning. So the stone tools go from crude to all of a sudden it is unnaturally refined. It is super refined. It's like they had someone judging them, like they were winning a contest for who could make the most complicated stone tool 1 million years ago. You're like, why? seriously, sharp edge. I mean, and the fact they do both sides and do it almost a perfect teardrop shape or a perfect kind of a round shape. Not saying always perfect, but the fact that they're even close to that. Why? It's not just comfort, and it's not just
Yeah.
function. Some of it's just style, and I think that is another issue that we forget. We're artistic. I feel it's in a sense philosophy or psychology, phenomenology, like the experience we have of things. Like when we see art, we don't just see, oh, there's a piece of flat material that someone has painted colors on. We go, ooh, look, a mountain, a tree, a bird, a person. We're reacting, in a sense, phenomenologically, not to what's really there. Just like when we hold a picture we've seen of ourselves even a long time ago, we feel nostalgic over it. But it's that phenomenology. To me, we're emotional. So I see that's one of the reasons why religion can happen, and religion in a sense, or at least in not in extreme versions, but like even in the just simple behaviors we do can become like, I like to think of myself as a lion. Well, that's totemistic, and also kind of animistic, that I want to see myself in a sense as these other kind of beings or whatever, or that other. But it's not that for me personally as an atheist, and it's not that I personally believe in totems as being parted. Because see, there's a difference for real totemism. Totemism generally has to do with clan and thing, like the culture itself, way more than just like a religious concept. It has to do. So I don't see it that way. Obviously, I don't. But I'm just saying, I can see where even me, and I'm very against religion, I can see even me, I favor thinking of myself as a lion.
Well, I hate to interrupt you, but it is showtime.
Okay.
So, hello, all you wonderful people out there. And I have Damien AtHope with me. And I met him, he had me on his show a long while back. And he and I do a lot of the same things. So why don't you tell us about yourself, Damien?
Well, hi. Yes, I was interested in you because we have, it seemed like, similar subjects, and I was like, oh man, wonderful. Because I feel like a lot of times my brand of atheism, whether it's either philosophy or my approach like archaeologically and anthropologically and that kind of stuff, more than like to me, a lot of atheists that would be close to me, like Aaron Raw, I meant in the type of atheism I kind of do. He focuses more like on the mythology. I focus less on that. I focus more on the archaeology, like how did these cultures and which culture gave rise to the next culture, the next culture. How do we get to where we're at? So I do a lot more in that, and I felt like I was a lot more alone out here, making sort of archaeological or anthropological or in a sense kind of stuff. And then I saw your channel, and I thought, hey, shit, finally, someone I can totally relate to, in a sense that I feel like we're approaching this from the same kind of mindset. Like, because a lot of people, when they think religion, they think 5,000 years and under. I never do that, because to me, I don't see religion as that, especially not now. After all I've done, I see religion as just this long thing that, in a sense, psychologically, I have a degree in psychology. And psychologically, it's like we all start out about up to 7 years old with a mind that, in a sense, thinks very animistically. So to me, I don't think, even if as an atheist, and my goal would be remove all religion, I don't think it's possible to remove all animism. It's just, it's so, or at least it's something that rationality has to fight against and logic has to try to challenge, in a sense. But it's very even atheists. There's a lot of atheists that don't think they are, but they'll say, well, I'm atheist, but I'm spiritual. What you probably mean is you're animist and you're an atheist. That is totally possible, because animists believe in spirits or spirit essence, or like when someone I've heard before, they'll say, well, I don't know if I believe in God, Damien. And I don't think I'm an atheist because I believe there's just something. Okay, you're an animist. You're saying that there has to be some sort of a, magical spiritual connection. That's all animism. So to me, this is like one guy said to me, he got really mad. He said, because I'm an anti-religionist. Just so people know, I'm an atheist, but I'm also an anti-theist and an anti-religionist, but I'm also a secularist and a humanist. My problem is what religion offers. It has to be challenged. It would be like, to me, everyone feels compelled to, in a sense, challenge, lies about COVID. Well, I feel like they're lying about history. This pisses me off. I feel like they're lying about science. Because to me, in a sense, how I see religion is like conspiracy theories of reality. They would just, in other words, if they were invented right now, someone came to you right now, didn't have this word religion or anything, and just said, didn't tell you about God, just told you their basic ideas. I believe there's a supernatural force that runs the universe and created everything, and we're made from mud, and we, ate a tree 4,000 or 6,000 years ago in a garden that's now magical and gone, full of animals that didn't do the same thing, like eat things, and now things are, we would go, what the hell? Dude, that sounds like a conspiracy. Science? Did you go to school? I'm just wondering. So to me, it's, people always think I hate religious people. I don't hate. I love all people. I want to be a friend to the world. That's what I'm saying about being a humanist. It's just, I do not like lies being told, and I don't know why people feel that somehow I hate because I want to expose lies, and somehow the people that want to hide the lies are loving or something. This dichotomy is just completely a fallacy. I can completely think religion is a bunch of garbage. But I, in a sense, when it comes to truth, if it's a philosophy, maybe it has something to offer. I don't know. But it's not about truth. When it comes to history, it's not really about true history. It has all kinds of shit that is not true. It is just like there's one battle in the Bible, and I prove that battle, they claim more people were killed than even lived in the entire region of Israel at the time, archaeologically, that they know. Was everyone died? Then how the hell is there Jews today? I don't, it's ridiculous. So, and anyways, there would be evidence of that war, and also, like, other people in the area would talk about, oh my God, this war was so huge. What's the other wars that have happened, have been documented? How did yours, miss that? Who were you fighting that lost all these people that also didn't ever talk about losing? Anyways, but the Bible's just to me, its own self ludicrous. Just like, dude, when in fact I was a Christian for 35 years. It's unbelievable to me now how I did it, but I was ignorant, and that's really what my whole goal. I always say to people that I'm an activist and an advocate. I advocate for humanity. I advocate for the rights of humans. I advocate for equality. I advocate for dignity. I advocate for freedom, and things you just can't get, in a sense, in religion, because you're not really free to think. That it reminds me of, like, the one Christian preacher who has the Ark thing, Ken Ham. He said that told this to a class of children. To me, that's, how can I be quiet? Seriously. In fact, I protested the Creationist Museum, but how can I be quiet when people say things like he did? When he says, children, if the Bible and science do not, in a sense, coincide, if they argue or if they disagree, or if what science is saying, you would say would be disproving the Bible, then you have to believe the Bible. That's what he said. I'm like, see, now that has to be fought against. No, you have to believe what is true. Or be willing to just say that what you believe is not true. Okay.
Right.
I believe not true. So I'm a rationalist. If someone tells me I believe in God, I do not attack them. I have no reason to. Okay. It's like you said, I like sports. Well, I don't like sports. Or someone says, my favorite football team, this is the Rams or whatever. I don't even like sports. I don't like football. So, okay, whatever. I mean, it's that meaningless to me. Someone just saying they believe God. But what they say is, because my God is true or whatever. No, wait a minute. That's a different claim. And so to me, that's what I'm attacking. Just like I'm an anti-agnostic, not an anti-agnostic people, just the concept. The concept that somehow I can't know there's a God already assumes that I have to assume that there is a God. My point is to see it from an agnostic with an I. And what that does is say that what is being offered is so ludicrous and so confusing and actually not well stated that it can't even be questioned in the first place. It's like if I said, well, the Jolly Green Giant actually is what keeps your vegetables fresh. It's in your freezer, you just don't see it. He's in there all the time. How else do you think that your stuff stays so fresh? It's the Jolly Green Giant. That claim, how much effort, in a sense, reasonable person should give to that claim? Should I go now and look in my freezer just to make sure? Should I have an agnostic view until I go look? Or are there some things that are stated that simply violate what is known to even be considered as how I see it? So what is being offered, a God, is a supernatural giant. And yet, I have never even seen the smallest supernatural anything. So claiming this supernatural is just ludicrous on top of an already unproven ludicrous concept of supernatural anything. Every science, and I can go, well, there's no proof. Science never disproved religion. I'm not thinking you're really grasping science. First off, science tries to prove what's real. What has been proven to be real from the history of science on every level in every science throughout time is natural only. That's it. So to me, to even offer a magical explanation is to be leaving the realm of logic, to leaving the realm of reason. So to me, there's no reason. That's like, to me, I'm an axiological atheist, which is, it's like a doctoral term. Anyways, but it has to do with value judging. We all do it all the time. Our brains operate this way. Animals do. It's not nothing special. It's evaluation. But see, it's a thing where the difference is like, it's like if you put, like how people do with philosophy with logic. It puts like logic kind of thinking and requirements on how you value judge. And this means that you start to realize that black and white thinking really is not accurate because most things have a variance. And so you start to realize very quick that if good value judging means that if it looks like it's just black and white, maybe you should keep looking because maybe you just haven't seen enough. So, but not that there can't be, but it's a different carefulness. So to me, as an axiologist, thinker or philosopher, what I try to do is value judge like the God concept. So we start at nothing because that's where you start. I don't know anything. And then what do I know from not knowing anything? For any story, know nothing. If I just open my eyes, what do I know if I never knew one fact about the world? If I look around, do I see magic? Do I have any compulsion to think that something is magical in my environment? And then I start to research, has there ever been something that's been proven? So to me, you start from that reasoned place. You don't start from, because I heard someone say before, well, everyone in their heart has to come to the conclusion, is there a God or not? And I said, no, actually they don't. Because I can go through life and never have been told about the God concept, and I can function perfectly. So it's an unneeded addition, not some kind of a required, like to me in my book, anyone who reads my book will realize, wow, I figured out some stuff, or I maybe did, about history that people didn't know. But the reason you're going to come to that conclusion is because of evidence. Because I give you evidence upon evidence, linking evidence to evidence and evidence and evidence. That is how you make something reasonable. And so to me, That's what I'm requiring of all my thinking. Because
Yeah.
I have what I call, in a sense, belief etiquette, which is, in a sense, three type of critical thinking ways of approaching anything that I think about. And the first thing is that I have reasoned belief acquisitions. In other words, that I don't just believe things without reason. So first off. Second off is that I have good belief maintenance. This means that I am a human. So I'm going to pick up beliefs that could be bullshit. And, including I try to be a good thinker, and I still can pick up beliefs that are bullshit. Or that need to be tweaked, or need to be amended, or that new facts have come, or that new clarity has happened. That has happened to me several times. And so when I do, man, I want to change the new facts. I
Right.
don't want to be wrong one more minute. This one person said to me, wow, Damien, because I said, oh, man, I was wrong. And he goes, wow, I can't believe that you were so comfortable saying that. I said, why? I'm totally comfortable. I'm wrong all the time. That's how I've
Exactly.
been able to get better at being right. It's because my willingness to correct, like science. I mean, science didn't come out with the theory of one theory and then, okay, done. And then that theory never gets refined. Never, science. The whole point is that you get closer, so in a sense, this idea about science. Someone says the world is flat. Science, comes out, oh, no, the world's round. And then it goes, oh, well, maybe it's kind of pear-shaped. Or maybe it's got mountains and so it's lumpy. But all those are not flat. So the not flat at the beginning was already correct. You're just making it, in a sense, more accurate to your being correct. It's not flat.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm rewatching Logic right now. I don't know if you know him or not.
I don't. I do archaeological research. I don't
Okay.
I don't watch anything else. I mean, probably maybe now that my book's almost done. But,
yeah, he does debunks, and this one I'm watching right now is about 7 years old, I think. I'm rewatching it because I've watched it like twice. But he's debunking Kent Hovind,
yeah.
and Kent's like saying that science can't be right because we change our mind all the time. Like, of course we change our minds all the time.
Yeah.
Because
we increase accuracy. That's what we do.
Yeah, because we're learning new facts. I mean, what's the alternative? Not changing our minds to fit the facts, not coming up with theories to fit the facts. I was a Christian for about 40 years, and I'm like,
Almost like me.
Yeah, I have no idea how I got through that. I mean, I don't, because I'm like, it's so silly now, but what can you do?
I would say that it was silly for a while. Now I just see it as culture. I would say for me personally, at first I was angry, and then I fought against it, and then I saw it as a little bit different and then kind of goofy and funny. But now I don't. I just see it as culture. It's like, do we make fun of someone wearing socks and sandals? Yeah. Is it really right to make fun of people for doing weird things? Not really. So to me, I just realized these are just weird things people do. They're just weird shit people do. It's just culture. So once I see it like that, it allows me to remove some of my dislike for it. I dislike it, but I also dislike anchovies on pizza. Oh, damn, disgusting.
Well, I'm still at that angry stage, and I'm not really sure how long I'm going to be at the angry stage. But
no, I can still be angry. There's plenty of religion that just makes me like the fact that religions get an exemption for child abuse because of religion. That to me should be outlawed immediately. It is disgusting that anyone even asked to have exemption for child abuse. Ugh. Anyways.
Are you familiar with what's happening with the J-dubs right now?
Like I said, most of my stuff, I always tell people, is 5,000 to 1 million. So that's the stuff that
Okay.
It may be 4,000 to 1 million. But anything that I don't focus. I have done. I did one. I believe one blog, maybe two. I think maybe two. I don't know, blogs on Jehovah's Witness, but one was on sexism. But because I did sexism actually for all the world religions, I couldn't believe that someone had not done a blog for all the 10 or whatever major religions of the world explaining their sexism. So I did it.
They are in big trouble for CSA. And
CSA? What's that?
Child abuse.
Oh.
I'll get demonetized.
CSA. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
it. Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of like, and they know this has been happening for years and years, which is why they're in trouble. I don't think they'd be in trouble if they didn't have a database that they weren't making, they weren't trying tooth and nail to protect, you know. I mean, they are protecting abusers.
Yeah.
Actively. And they are in big trouble for that. And
well, they should be.
Exactly, they should be. Australia had their Royal Commission in 2015, I think. And ICSA, which is in Great Britain, is going on right now. And, you know, it's just like, you know, at first, the Royal Commission was going on about a redress scheme, and the J-Dubs weren't going to sign up to the redress scheme. And Australia says, okay, well, first we're going to name and shame. So they did the naming and shaming first. And the J-Dubs still didn't want to sign up. So the Australian government was like, okay, well, if you don't want to sign up, that's fine. We'll just, you know, take away your tax exempt status. Oh, boy.
Yeah, they don't like that, huh?
No.
Show me the money.
Right, exactly. So, you know, because they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you know?
They all are.
Of course they are. And, you know, I think maybe if they weren't, it would go a long way in saying, hey, we're here for the good of humanity, but, you know, they're basically here to make a profit. You know, like, you know, about 40,000 years ago when we didn't have explanations for these things, I can see, you know, well, God, you know, but we've got Zeus, you know, who did lightning out of his hands, and they were like, oh, well, that's just static electricity. We don't need Zeus anymore. And one of these days, probably not in my lifetime, but one of these days, we're going to get to the point we don't need the Christian God anymore either.
I can only hope.
and then what is it going to be? I'm pretty sure there's going to be another religion, because for whatever reason we're, you know,
or like I said, or it will just be conspiracy theories, because now that's like a religion. It's like a cult, so it's like a religion in a sense. So I mean, like QAnon, I mean, it's not, they just, whatever mindless crap that they say, they change, it doesn't make a difference. Oh, that's exactly what religion does. Religion goes, on this date, everyone's going to die. And then no one dies. It's like, well, maybe not this date, another date. And then no one dies. Oh, another date. And no one dies. And they're like, see, they already left. You're like, what? Everyone died? You just didn't see it. Or the point is, religion has been doing that kind of con game bullshit. So to me, I would say that it seems to me that since everyone is becoming more scientific in a sense, kind of, that there's less reliance on stuff that is older, like magic and stuff like that. So beliefs I'm talking about. But I do think that doesn't mean that the tribalism is gone. That doesn't mean that the animism that people naturally kind of feel is going to be gone. So yeah, it's because when you have that kind of thing, and then you don't have the logic. 'Cause like I said before, 7, in a sense, all humans sort of think animistically, or can have the tendency to think animistically. But after 7, your brain starts to develop critical thinking and logic. And once that starts, then that's the downfall of supernatural beliefs. And that's actually true too in adults. That they've done a study before that people that utilize philosophy and thinking and logic and stuff more have less tendency to have supernatural beliefs, and people that are less, people, just like if people have less schooling, they're generally are more religious, and if they have way more schooling, they generally have less religion. It's not there's a few outliers either way, but
right.
The majority, it's like an atheist. Most atheists are somewhat informed, and this is why I always think it's funny to me, because some religious people go, well, they just came in because they were angry. And my point would be, and then they learned more truth, and now their disbelief of religion has been added to also things that are not about being angry. They're about logic and reason and evidence and understanding things. So to me, it's easy for people to try to scapegoat that an atheist is angry, but it's like trying to say that a rape victim is bad because they're feeling emotional because they feel bad for being raped. I mean, I don't know about you, but my personality is kind of like easygoing. I like to be easygoing and laughing. Not that I'm not tough and couldn't fight if I had to, but it's not what I want to do. I want to just be nice and have fun and everyone get along.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. But my point is, so I didn't have any desire to, out of anger, attack religion. It's just that when I was a religious person. I went to school to be a drug and alcohol counselor. I took psychology. And in psychology, they told me I had to take 2 classes, one on world religions and then one on the Bible. And I took world religions first, blew my mind. I almost didn't want to take it because I was a Christian, and how dare I have to learn about other religions.
Yeah.
I thought somehow my mind will be poisoned, or I'll be somehow cheating on God, or some nonsense. I don't even remember exactly, but it was some like nonsense kind of feeling, like bad feeling, like dread. Ooh, don't even want to look at it. But so it's just crazy. And then I read stuff and I started going, wow, all these religions seem the same. Because I had never read any of them or really learned anything. I couldn't even told you almost 5 Christian denominations, let alone other religions.
Right.
At the time, I was very ignorant because I was raised very fanatical Christian, evangelical, Pentecostal.
So was I. Not Pentecostal, but evangelical nonetheless.
Yeah, I was a conservative. I was a right winger. I mean, yeah. But that all changed. I'm now a leftist and an anarchist socialist, so definitely not a Republican.
Yeah, it kind of makes me it kind of makes me angry when people say they're Christian, but then they say, and this is getting off on the subject, but anyway, then they say they're capitalist. Jesus wasn't a capitalist. He was a communist.
Yeah.
I'm like, go sell all that you have, give to the poor, come follow me. Yeah. That's communism. People,
or informing them about wealth, that it's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle, or no, harder for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get to heaven, or something like that.
Yeah, but
because it's saying that it's saying, if you just think about the philosophy, what that's saying, or what the statement really is, that to be rich is to be corrupt, is to have sinned in some way. That's what it's saying. because it says it's harder for you to get to heaven. Well, then you're saying it's more chance that a person who is wealthy has, in a sense, done something unethical. That to me is what. So I agree with you. It's like a communist statement. Like, oh yeah, you like capitalism? Tell me a rich person who's not, in some way violated ethics. Donald Trump, I mean, his taxes he's afraid of. Yeah, it's not because he's followed the law and been ethical in all of his endeavors. No, he's been a known crook, and he's scared to get caught as a crook again.
Yeah, and now he's paying the price for it. Maybe if he hadn't run for president and gotten it, maybe he,
I don't think he thought he'd win. Seriously. I don't think he did. I think he thought...
They never do.
Yeah, no, because I think for him, he thought this will be able to make my name more famous. And since he sells his labeled name, that his profile being larger, more well-known, was going to benefit him. And so then I think that he accidentally became president.
Yeah.
Then it was like, oh no, I like this power, I think, and I'm afraid to go to jail because he saw all the things, and so he fought to stay in. Donald Trump is a very weird person because he's like bipolar in his thinking, because it's like he's this sniveling little kid that wants attention, like a little baby, and then at the same time, he's this maniacal monster that wants to destroy the world, all for his own benefit. So his jacuzzi has a higher temperature or something. He does not care. He's a complete.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't care.
Which is why I can't believe that he's got the evangelicals in his pocket.
Because they are not ethical. They have shown they cannot get through the eye of a needle. They have proved this. They can't do it because they are. To even support someone that, just think, what would Jesus do? Remember those things? Seriously.
Yeah.
Do you believe for a minute that Jesus would hang out with Donald Trump?
Nope.
No way. If he did, it would be to try to lead him to the Lord, because boy, he ain't there.
Really? So I don't know if you've seen my Saturday live streams. You probably haven't, since you've been working on your book.
Yeah.
But I have said that I think the New Testament is pro-Roman, has a pro-Roman slant, because
certainly
you see Jesus saying, "Render unto Caesar the things that be Caesar's," and then you have Paul saying, slaves, obey your masters, and I was wondering if you had anything, to say about that, because if I saw it, certainly other people have seen it.
Well, I would say that to me, the whole thing of even Romans, so the concept, first off, you have to understand is, where did Jews get their ideas? Right? So this is important. To me, you have to understand who, in a sense, who were the ancient Israels, people, the Hebrews, or whatever you want to call them. Well, to me, it's the Kurgal axe culture. We can tell by which is from actually up near Georgia in northeast Turkey, over near Azerbaijan, or whatever. Up there is where the DNA comes from 4,000 years ago.
Okay.
Then it goes to Lake Van, splits off, and it makes the Kurds. So the Kurds split off of the Jews. They are direct line descendants 4,000 years ago in Lake Van, which is in a sense, near Mount Ararat in, I think it's central Turkey, central East Turkey, or something. But anyways, so that culture, and then of course I know what that culture was believing, kind of, and what they were doing, and then where they got their ideas was more from the Matlock culture. I'm probably saying it wrong, and they got connections. They're closer to, they're in Georgia, and they're closer to the Indo-Europeans, the Proto-Indo-Europeans and stuff, which has if people don't know, Indo-European languages like German, English, French, Spanish, Greek, Iranian, Hindu, all kinds of languages. German, did I say that right? Anyway. But a whole bunch of stuff. So all people all those people, those languages, which like language we're speaking right now, are actually from one religion 6,000 years ago. One language, one religion, one people that spread their ideas to many cultures. They didn't themselves do it, but they touched a few that touched more, that touched more, that touched more, that touched more, whatever.
So are we talking about the Mesopotamians, or are we talking about Hinduism?
Well, so Mesopotamian got their wheel, right? The chariot, probably from Turkey. And Turkey got it from this culture. This culture, okay. The Yama, or Ayama, on the northern steppes. They're above where the Black Sea is. They're the north. It's like the...
Russia.
Well, it's almost in Russia, yeah. So anyways, but those people up there, Ukraine, Russia. So yeah, Ukraine and Russia. How about that? Ukraine and people in Ukraine and Russia that actually, I don't want to I can keep going back to where they come from, but the people in Ukraine and Russia, about 6,000 years ago, they got their religion started, in a sense, given to them as a package. The language starts in religion. But about 5,000 years ago, they start transferring it. 4,000 years ago, they've spread all the way to Spain. And then from there, they spread all the way into England and then whatever. So, but they also go and give the chariot, in a sense, through warfare to the Mesopotamians. And so they actually affect heavily the Mesopotamian religion after that point. Before that point, Mesopotamian religion is a little different. After that point, it's definitely. And all the dynasties are all related, to me, in a sense, to this kind of a concept, this package of warfare and clan tribalism type of the leader worship or power worship kind of culture. And the culture was more sexist than the culture that had come before. The one before, just like about 7,000 years ago, a lot of the world was matrilinear, that it passes through the female line, which is like what in a sense Israeli or Jews do now, right? They generally consider their lineage, so they're doing the older style, the free the Yama, in a sense. So their style of was all at 7,000. Everybody was pretty much through the woman, so it didn't matter who the father was as long as you know who the mother is. But as soon as the Yama start taking out, then you get this huge influx of this male dominant. So then everywhere almost in the world, it spreads down. By 2000, it's everywhere, or damn close to it. But it starts at 5,000, and it basically it starts doing this new culture, like only men can be kings, and you can only pass it to the male heir. And that's new. That happened at 5,100 in Egypt. So it's a new kind of that they didn't have that before. Just like at 4,000 years ago, there was the first documented women's rights. Well, the reason you do that is because you cared about them, and now they've been violated in some way, or they weren't cared about at all, and now you're trying to care about them. Either way, the point is, 4,000 years ago in Turkey, they were writing documents saying women had some rights, and we need to respect them. Or you guys, it was like a treaty between two people. But yeah, so it's saying, our women, don't come and rape them, or kill them or whatever, or steal them. So, but it said women had some other rights besides that. But my point is that it shows this shift. It's already like heavy, and then there's women emperors at like 4,000 and 3,000. But man, by about 2,000, it's almost gone. And all goddess religion, like worship in a sense, most of it in the world, by 2000, gone. It's like by that point, sexism, patriarchy fully took a hold. So to me, that asking like the Jesus and the Romans. So by the time the Romans, so it's not 100%. Where my point is, it's not 100% Romans' fault. By the time 2000, about when the Romans were kind of their heyday, is about the time when this was already happening. They were just very high progenitors of it. They were big promoters of it, because the actual culture, the Etruscans in almost the same area near Rome, were not that way. They were polyamorous. They would have sex with multiple partners. Women would have their boobs out all the time. That was considered totally normal. That was not.
Mm-hmm.
And the Romans said that's offensive. Women's breasts and how they hang, they don't look good, tight and strong like a man. That because of that, they're disgusting, and you have to cover them up in a sense. And so it's that hatred of, in the sense, the Etruscan culture almost, that by the Romans, because the Etruscans were way more advanced. Romans actually took some of their religion, along with some of the Greeks also. But
Yeah, I got you.
What's that?
They fought, didn't they?
The Etruscans or the Greeks? They fought both, actually.
The Romans and the Etruscans, they fought for control of their little patch of Italy, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the Etruscans lost.
Yeah.
That's the point. The Etruscans were there first, in a sense. Well, and they actually come from a small island off of West Turkey. The Etruscans.
Oh, okay.
Their DNA, just like everybody thought the Phoenicians were all only like, because they're in Lebanon, and Bablos in Lebanon,
Yeah.
and they thought that they were from that area, but they're actually some, not all, but some of the DNA.
Cyprus, I think.
But some of the DNA of them actually goes back to Spain. They came from Spain, went to North Africa, they went to Crete, and then they went to basically Egypt and Palestine.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I mean, see, I was still able to talk about stuff at that age. I was just saying to you that I'm a lot better when it's older, because that's more of what I've done research on. But I mean, my goal is to write the book that I've just finished, which is The Tree of Lies and Its Hidden Roots, exposing the evolution of religion and removing the rationale of faith.
Yeah. You know, when you get time, you might like my my series on the emergence of Israel, because Israel didn't come about the way the Bible says.
Oh, no.
You know?
I agree.
I mean, you know, first of all, the thing about them being slaves in Egypt, a few may have been slaves, like before they were Israelites, because Israel didn't really exist before David. David was, you know, I mean, even Saul was more like a clan prince than anything else. You know, he wasn't.
We agree.
So
I know a little bit about Israel too.
Yeah. So, you know, but there is one thing that I've been wondering about, and I haven't been able to really look into this yet. There was a tribe called the Hyksos that overran.
And they were Indo-European, probably. Yes, they probably are part of the Kurgan culture coming down. Yep.
Yeah. And so
they brought the chariot. That's why I think that, because I already know that the chariot came from Turkey, because there's a toy chariot that's 5,500 years old, which is older than any chariot in the world.
Cool.
So it's in Turkey, and they already thought, anyways, because of other stuff, that it came from Turkey first to Samaria, and then from Samaria and went to Israel, and then from there to the Hyksos, like you said. Because see, there's no chariots for the Egyptians until after the Hyksos rule.
Right.
There isn't. So because it's a different culture. It brought, and just like at that point too, they brought in some of their deities, of course, gods, because who doesn't like their own gods? So,
right.
So that's when Egypt has some stuff that looks like Israel or something. I mean, it doesn't look like, and they call it God in Egyptian. They call it like God some other lands or something. I don't know, but it looks like Egyptian stuff. But the gods are like, who is that? or it's the same God that you know, but doing stuff that is depicting the representation and idea of another God.
Yeah, I have read, not too much on the subject, but I have read that some people think Aten was akin to Yahweh. Now I don't know how factual that
I would
is.
say I don't know for a fact, but I would say no. I would say that Yahweh is probably shaman or shaman. I can't remember his name. The god of the sun. I I know stuff, but I don't always know like how to spell stuff. I had
Yeah,
a religious upbringing. They were
yeah,
not
it's
big
fine.
on learning stuff, and so I
Yeah,
I now have to suffer the basics and when I know like doctorate level shit, and I can't even figure out how to do stuff that grade school kids can do.
but that is something I've heard, and I tend to agree with you. I don't think they're the same thing. Um, because I don't think at that time, well, Aten was the sun god, basically.
Well,
And
yeah. So you're asking a different question. So I would say there is a Indo-European 6,000 years ago, a Earth Mother and a Sky Father, and the Sky Father generally, but not always, can relate to things like the sun, can
mhm,
relate to storms. So when someone says a storm god, same thing. Sun god, same thing. And pretty much, to me personally, you can almost say that the influence that that's connected to is every sun god in the world, basically, very close to it, because you have to understand how the steppes was a highway from Europe to China, and then from China to America. It was a
yeah,
doom, doom, doom. And so with the middle of that is the Middle East. They just come straight down, boom, and bring the stuff to the Middle East. So they took stuff from China, Middle East. Took stuff from Europe, Middle East.
right.
And so what so the Middle East also sent stuff to Europe, sent stuff to China in a sense through the China. Like people think, oh, don't you remember that there was a Silk Road? Well, there was a 3,000 year thing before that also, and there was also one even older than that. And it's the Steplands has been the super highway that everyone's forgot about because it was horse raiding and stuff, and that's what allowed Mongols to go all the way across and into Europe.
Also, the Black Plague.
Oh, the Black Plague. Black Plague, I think, is like 4,000 years old. Starts in Sweden, ends up like taking over like almost the whole world, showing people move around.
So anyway, yeah. So in your studies, have you? I have read about Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, I actually have two videos up right now about that, about Gobekli Tepe. I have actually 10 I want to make. I was making them, but then stuff happened in my life, and I ended
Yeah.
up stopping and focusing instead on my book, and I got that
Mhm.
done. So now I might go back, and do our stuff. But I want to do 10 videos because I really feel that people misunderstand Gobekli Tepe. I want to explain it in the way that I understand it, which would take 10 videos, like 2-3 hours each, or at least an hour each, because there is, in a sense, that much to understand. But go ahead.
Yeah. So as far as I know, they've gotten to the point where they think Göbekli Tepe is older than farming. It used to be the other way around. It used to be they thought people settled down for farming and then did religion, but Göbekli Tepe is older than farming.
No,
So
that's not accurate.
that's not accurate.
No.
Okay.
No,
That's the
so
last time
just
I
so
heard.
people know, I'll explain it because people
Mhm.
get confused because they say Neolithic Revolution is venture to farming, kind of. So
Yeah.
farming or proto-farming, let's call it, because let's not call it full farming, is 23,000 years old in North Israel. So that's a fact. Then here's another fact. It's at the 16,000 or 14. Oh yeah, 16,000 years ago in Egypt is the use of barley to like make stuff, some kind of gruel or something. So they're using it there at 16,000. At 14,500 in Jordan is the oldest pita bread. So they're obviously making bread. Then at 13,000 years ago in Israel again, North Israel, they are making alcohol and gruel for food or whatever. So they're already making beer. Then Göbekli Tepe, as you say. But look, before we go there, I forgot to tell you, 14,000 years ago, almost all wheat traces to Krag Gag or whatever it is in Turkey. So majority of the world's wheat comes in a sense, or originated from this one Turkish mountain in the southeast Turkey near Göbekli Tepe. And Göbekli Tepe, as you said, did they have farming? Yes, there's a lot of evidence that they had farming. What they did, when people get confused, if they had farming, what they didn't have is the fully sedentary lifestyle. So that's the difference. They absolutely had farming, but they didn't have it in a sense the way we do. And so Göbekli Tepe is like a ceremonial. To think of it this way, people have Native American powwows, or people have, conventions they go to, or groups get together for their lodges or whatever. That's what you have, to me, in a religious way, though, was to me Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, so it's kind of like Stonehenge in England.
Exactly like Stonehenge. No, not kind
Gotcha.
of. Exactly like Stonehenge, but used because it was older and for a little bit different reason. Not exactly in the fact of use. As far as I meant ritual feasting is exactly the same. How about that? Because I don't want people to think, I'm not saying that I think, because I see, in a sense, Göbekli Tepe is like proto-paganism. And I see the stuff of like the Stonehenge as a more like advanced paganism that later becomes even more advanced, and then finally it becomes organized religion. Later, like Egypt and all that, and Mesopotamia. But to me, all of it's relatively connected. It's not separate. It's all connected, but it's connected in ideas, like spread ideas, and it's spread obviously with agriculture. Because Göbekli Tepe. So just so you know, is also alcohol. Just like there was alcohol in Israel, there's alcohol and in Göbekli Tepe. Then there's alcohol in use and religion at 9,000 in China. Probably came the idea, I would not be surprised if the idea either originated there for religion or all itself, or it came from the Middle East and is influenced. That hey, you can take stuff and ferment it. But then the fermentation goes from China about grapes, and it ends up in Georgia. Georgia became 8,000 years ago, and then Azerbaijan, I think, has a 7,500 or 800-year-old winery or something. So and then it goes from there down to the Mesopotamians. They start drinking alcohol. Well, they got the idea from other people. So they also didn't just get the idea; they got the goddess that went with that idea. So they had, so the names might change. But even like Mesopotamians, their names change a lot, but it's the same deity in a sense. It's just, it's like a archetype. I would say is probably a better idea than the same deity. It's like an archetype concept that there's this something and it relates to water or whatever, and then it's female, and so then everybody gives it all these names and attributes, explaining it their own way, but it's all in a sense the same concept, sort of. But I don't agree with people who think there was only one god or one goddess. I think there was always paganism and always polytheism.
Yeah.
And so to me, when I think of paganism, it's a nature kind of almost shamanistic paganism. Because to me, first paganism was heavy shamanism with a few gods.
Yeah.
So shamanism with a few gods. And then it became shamanism, a few gods, and a few priests. Or priestess, probably. And then from there, then the shaman is not as important, and now we're focusing more on just the priests, because now we're focusing our whole attention now from the shaman going to the spirit world to gods. The importance is God. So that's how I see that these concepts went with it, because in other words, like 7,000 or no, 6,000 years ago, they start using manure, in fields in the Balkans, and like it's important because I don't think they thought, "Ooh, things will grow better if you put shit." I think they had a bull deity that was the sky deity that would rain on them, and they put part of what they thought the bull did shit. I think they put its blood. They may even ground up bones and put them in their stuff. I don't know, but they would have done. I probably bet their shit in their blood, maybe even their milk, to think that they're fertilizing the ground. And in a sense,
nice.
they kind of were, even though they didn't realize it.
Right,
right. But I don't. But my point is that even like, because there's some archaeologists that don't like that I see a lot of religion in a lot of things, and they see a lot of just either ritual or utilitarian behavior, which they think means non-ritual. But to me, I think that's not understanding stuff. It's like understanding the Native American weapons. Most Native American weapons are also ceremonial. So it's really wrong to call them utilitarian weapons because they're also religious. So I think that it's, you know what I'm saying? So I think we have this wrong concept sometimes when we think of things, because we think, like it reminded me, Ian Holder. I think that there was goddess worship at Chatahoyuk, and I think that I have proof of why I think this. And Ian Holder said in a video about Chatahoyuk, and by the way, he's an archaeologist that actually did archaeology at Chatahoyuk. But that actually doesn't mean he knows religion. He can be an expert in one field and obviously not an expert in every field.
Right.
So, but he says, he goes like, this is his argument. He goes, I don't think that it's a goddess because I think it's an ancestor. And as far as I know, religions don't turn ancestors into gods. And I'm thinking, this guy doesn't know religion because that's horse crap. What are you talking about? Pharaoh thought he was a god. The first, I think, 2 kings supposedly of Samaria became deities. In fact, the Sibla is the Greek deity, right? That was an actual woman who was the first queen, in maybe the only one. I'm not sure, but the first queen in Samaria. I think she was like the third ruler, I think, or something, or second ruler.
Nice.
I think third. I don't know. But anyways, but it's like 4,000 years or 4,320 years. I don't know. Some. Anyways, but the point is, what was I talking about that?
You were talking about Chatahoyuk.
Oh, Chatahoyuk. Yeah. So my point. My point is about that guy said that they can't be deities. But so the Greek deity that gave birth to all the gods was an actual human woman in Samaria that was probably the third queen. My point is, so him saying, oh, it can't be possible because people didn't do that, as far as he knows, well, I was like, well, if you obviously didn't know anything about religion, don't make comments about religion. Just say, I don't know.
Right.
It's a figurine. It appears to be in woman or female nature, and that's all I know. He should just, I mean, I think it's great when people say, I think, but doing it in a way that, he's laughing like he knows. And it's stupid for anyone to think, I'm like, oh, does he not know about ancient China? Does he not know about Japan, who had their ruler, the emperor, right? Was that people were kamikazing and dying for this guy and this line. I mean, what are you talking about? I was like, is he for real?
Yeah.
But I think that's the problem, is that, like, I've learned that there's, like, in a sense, low gods and high gods. And so that's, in a sense, high gods often have to do with stars, sky, sun, moon, whatever. But they're, in a sense, a high god, sky god. High god also generally means like the only god or the best god. Like the ones, people up in north east Russia, far east Russia, whatever, they have a belief in this like a black kind of crow or whatever. God, it's a sky god, high god, whatever. It probably also relates to the sun and whatever. But that same in a sense concept is over in the Pacific Northwest. They also have, in a sense, this similar deity, and
Yeah.
it's because it's the similar religion was passed over. When those people came over, they took their religion with them. I mean, just like
Right.
now, people in America, new immigrants come, they bring in a different religion, maybe. I mean,
Right.
that's just what people do. So that's always been the truth of the world, and I think that the only thing, the hardest thing for us is we're like massively sedentary compared to these other people. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
we need to realize that our way of life is nothing like theirs. Just like I was saying about gods. So like they call it their high spirit, or in America, there's some people call things the great spirit. And to me, it's a high god. It's just a different term. If it is because what do you mean by that? So it's a more spirit than a regular spirit? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it does
No,
all these things, right? It's a
yeah.
god. I get it. Okay. So, but I'm not saying I make people say that things are God, but I also
Right.
tell people they have to call themselves atheists. But that doesn't mean they're not atheists. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it isn't.
Right.
you get my point. So the fact that someone because I know that I use paganism in a way that a lot of people don't like, but that's also because they don't know all that stuff. If you read my book, you probably would have a lot less argument with me about why I call it pagan. Paganism is just this, for me, 12,000 years all the way till pretty much now. Now it's just organized paganism to me. Some of
Yeah.
it kind of removes itself from that, but do they not do fire worship? Yeah, with candles. Do they not do water worship with baptism? Do they not? I mean, so to me, I think there's one guy said to me, "Oh, you hate indigenous people because you're an atheist," and I was like, "That's ridiculous." I said, "I find
Yeah,
all
it
religions
is.
to be false. That's what I find them to be."
Yeah.
And they also usually defame or put down people, and I don't like that either. Or they call some people special, or some people good, or some people. It's like nah. If you want it for your culture, that's fine. You choose that, but it's not something that I have to believe is real.
Right.
So I mean, and there's no reason for me to, or anybody, even the people that are doing it. But I do think that we need to be compassionate, and realize, that these are still people. It just, to me,
Exactly. Exactly.
if we can't see past the beliefs as atheists, how do we expect the religious people to see past them? So I think that it's on us, in a sense, to stop first.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it just said, well, it's unfair, why should we have to stop? But you know what? We have to. Because don't we want to make a difference? Or if we don't, then I guess keep doing what you're doing. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to enlighten people. I mean, I found out so much stuff. And that was the whole point of my book, was actually not to write the book. I wanted to know, how did all this start?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the point of my channel. I started it like I want to know this and that and the other. And then it was like, okay, instead of writing a book, why don't I just do this? I mean, I guess I could write a book,
You
Jay
should write a
won't,
book. I mean, to me, I'm not the kind of person that feels like we're all fighting for one spot. I feel like we need as many books as possible. We need to explain it in every way, because you know what? What if your book is that one person that needs it?
yeah,
Because I mean, I was not persuaded by any atheist. That's not how I became an atheist. I became an atheist all on my own in college, when I was presented with reading material that was college level about the Bible. And I read halfway through that book, and it's not even an atheist book, it just tells you facts. I stopped believing. I'm like, oh my God, this is bullshit. I've been
yeah,
believing crap my whole life. That really made me angry. I've been
yeah.
lied to.
It made me angry too, Jay wants to know, why did they bury Göbekli Tepe? I don't think they buried it.
They did bury it.
They did bury it.
They
Okay.
buried it, but actually people don't realize they didn't bury it all at once. In a sense, it wasn't like they did it all in one shot and left. What it was is, in a sense, just like later the Kukatani is another thing in Ukraine that culture, about 6,000 to 5,000 or something. It's about 1,000 years. But anyways, it does the same thing where it burns people's houses after, in a sense, like every 60 years or something. It's a ritual. It's just it's like saying we respect our ancestors, and so now they make a mound. So now this used to be a temple. We'll bury it, make a mound. Now it's a mound. It's sacred. So then they kind of almost build on top of the mound sometimes. But they built like next to it. But the whole point of with the closing the thing is a ritual act. And then there's another point people don't realize too. It's not like people stop believing their religion of Göbekli Tepe. Oh, hell no. In fact, everyone in the world is still believing a branch of that to me. No, every religion that has any kind of paganism or any kind of gods, polytheism, all of it can, in a loose way, to me, be traced, I think, to the same concepts that were floating around at Göbekli Tepe. So Göbekli Tepe is also not alone. It's in a region. There's sites that were older than it. People don't realize this. They always go, oh, there wasn't settled sites. Well, that's not actually true either, because Korka Tepe, which is like 14,000, I think, to 12,000. Maybe it's 12,000. No, anyways, it's like 13, 14,000 in Turkey. And so it's older than Göbekli Tepe. And it's highly ritualized. There's already making these like ornaments and things, and it looks like they're already loosely getting religion. It looks to me like they have a lot of bugs and snakes and stuff. And so to me, it's like if they have gods, it's animal gods. And to me, animal gods can be low deities or high deities. So it's hard, because it's like you could see a snake and you would say, oh, that has to be a low deity. Well, wait, clouds look kind of like a snake sometimes. But it also could be a river, because rivers look like a snake. And guess what? Umbilical cord also looks like a snake. So snakes relate to life. But I mean, so the symbolism can be, or sometimes they'll say, oh, it's a falling leaf. How a leaf falls, kind of like wiggly, is kind of like a snake. So they'll say, oh, it has to do with trees. Like, so snakes and trees. And trees can also be the branches themselves that look like snakes. Anyways, but my point is that it's sometimes hard, but we have to understand that when they have this high or low deity, why it's hard for some people that don't grasp this to understand people's religions or different religions a long time ago. A low deity could be like a personal deity. So when you say, Jesus loves me, well, that would be a low deity. So you mean the Father God is in heaven, right? Yeah, the sky deity? Okay, great. So I get it. So there's a low deity and a high deity. Got it. Little partnership going on. But the low deity generally is personal, generally is related to a person, a place, a thing. So if they say this deity protects this city, it's a tutelar deity, and in a sense, to me, it's a low deity. It's relating to like right here, right now, right? It's ever present. So they can be seriously loved, in a sense, low deities, because they can be seen as what Christians would call guardian angels, which would I would see as a low deity, protector deity, a tutelar deity, or a tutelar spirit. And so it's a protective spirit, which to me turned into deities. Because what's the difference between a spirit and a deity? It's like, a super spirit. Okay. In a sense, that concept. So to me, the understanding, so like some people will say, well, it's not really a God. But what they really mean is it's not a high God. It's not a God for everybody. Or it's, so if it helps you understand, because then if you see, well, my deity is from Hawaii and it relates to the mountain. Well, that's a tutelar deity because it has to do with that mountain. And it's in a sense a low deity connected to just that mountain or just Hawaii, or you know what I'm saying? Or like the like you said, Yahweh Yahweh is a tutelar deity in a sense because it's the Jewish people's deity, right? So it's because they see it as their deity who chose them, right? The chosen people. So that proves right there to me it's a low deity. So they also have a high deity, but then they do have a trinity. So okay, I understand now. But the
Yeah.
trinity thing they think that they invented, what a joke. To me, the trinity thing has to do with women first, probably, and it has to probably first do with the moon and then the sun, and it then goes into both men and women. But when it goes to the sun, but it starts in the moon, I believe, and it has to do with the waning and waxing moon, like the thin. So the thin
Right.
first one is like life, the child, and then the pregnant woman, and also
Right.
relates to like figurines, and then the dying one or whatever. So it also
Right.
relates to, they actually have separate deities in a sense, names for like different kinds of positions of the moon. There
The
can be
maiden, the mother, and the crone.
right. So, but it's not just limited to that. So the sun does that too. The sun has the dawn and the dusk deities, and then has the ones of the day, or the main deity of the heavens in a sense. So it even what's interesting too is gods can have tutelar deities as well. So they can, or guardian deities, or like sometimes you'll have a god gets pulled through the sky in a chariot, and sometimes either the chariot itself is a deity, or the chariot and the horse is a deity, or just the horse or something, or bull, or whatever, whatever's pulling the in a sense deity across the sun across the sky, because they believe that the sun was birthed in the morning from a goddess, some cultures,
Okay.
and then flew across the sky somehow carried by some animal, and by winged power of some kind, and then in a sense died and went into underworld under the earth, or in the whatever somewhere, and that in a sense went into in the goddess of death in her body, whatever, impregnated her, and then in the morning she gives birth again, and then every day this cycle happens. But it's just crap like that. But so that in a sense, my point of that is that the Trinity didn't start with Jesus. That is no. That
Yeah.
concept is old. In fact, even the Sumerians had a Trinity. They had three deities that they were all male, but they had three deities that they felt were like these, kind of like a Trinity, sort of. Not exactly the concept of the Christianity, but I mean, I'm just saying that concept didn't come from nowhere.
Yeah. So this thought just occurred to me. Would Lucifer be a sun deity then? Because in the Bible, he's referred to as son of the dawn or son of the morning.
Well, Lucifer, it does mean morning star or something. So yes, that would mean sun in the morning. Yes, but Lucifer. The problem is Lucifer doesn't relate to the devil, and the devil doesn't really relate to the serpent. Those are
Right.
actually like separate deities being talked about, and they're, depending on who's doing it or what book, they're relating to the in a sense Jewish deity or the Bible God in different ways. Because like the first one is like helping or equals or something, and then slowly that changes. So once you get to
Right.
Christianity, now it's like this tempter and blah blah. It's like
Yeah.
totally different.
Because when you look at Job, and Lucifer's like presented with the sons of God. Okay, well, my question would be, why the hell would somebody who rebelled against God be presented with the sons of God? That never made any sense to me.
Well, I have two things for that. But first, let me go back. I got sidetracked off of the Lucifer thing. Lucifer has nothing to do with the devil or Satan. Period.
No,
Zero.
he
Nothing.
doesn't.
Nothing.
No, he
That
doesn't.
concept that in the Bible, is like one verse that uses the word Lucifer, how high you have fallen. It's actually talking about the king of Babylon. So everyone that uses the word Lucifer should just take that word, crumble it up, throw it away. It does nothing. It's like saying Pharaoh or something. I mean, it has no relation to what they're trying to talk about. I know now it's nomenclature or whatever word, but in reality, even if you want to be a devout Christian, it has nothing to do with Satan. Nothing.
Right.
It's just a mistranslation that people, in a sense, make that has to do with Satan. It doesn't. So it's just people didn't understand and they misinterpreted. And now we have years of Christianity telling everybody shit that is not true. But hey, it's religion, so why change it? That's one thing that I would hate the worst about religion. Really, that's why I agree with you when you say, well, Damien, you're constantly updating your thinking. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Where to me, that's like the scariest thing for religion. They don't update anything. And if they do, they break off and they make a new religion. Or they make a new sect or a new removed whatever. Somehow removed from their original thing because they're, in a sense, trying to add something new. That religion doesn't want to add nothing new. And that's what, to me, is really the most shocking, is that we can have most of the people in the world, speaking these Indo-European languages and having all these connections to these Indo-European religions that can go back 6,000 years. It's just wild to me.
Yeah. So, did you answer me about Lucifer being a sun deity?
Oh, so sun deity. Okay, so if that verse has nothing to do with the devil, but if it was talking about any kind of a spirit being, yes, I would say that would sound like that. Correct. But that's not have anything to do with it, so it doesn't work. You're correct of thinking, but you can't apply it to something that doesn't actually relate.
Yeah,
because then you come up with a faulty assumption.
I agree with you that Lucifer doesn't have anything to do with the devil. The devil came much later.
I even proved that to my mom. She didn't believe me. I proved it to my mom. That's actually one of the things that made me stop being a Christian right there. Seriously, it was that very thing. Because I was reading the thing about, because we had our thing for the class for the day, we had to write a project on Lucifer or whatever, and Satan and everything. So I'm researching, blah, 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 and I look in concordance, and it says, that Lucifer is not really, it's about the king of Babylon. Right in my concordance in my Bible, I'm like, what the heck? It's right in there. It's not like Christians don't know. It's right. It's in my Bible.
Well, they listen to their pastors. They don't read their Bibles.
But it shocked me. I didn't know it either. I was shocked, and I called my mom. Did you know that Lucifer is about the king of Babylon? It has nothing to do with Satan or anything? Oh, no, that's not true. I said, oh, yeah. She says, where'd you hear that? I said, in my Bible concordance.
Yeah.
And so she went and goes, I'm going to look. And she read it to me, read word for word, me out loud. And I said, yeah, see what I'm saying? And she goes, well, I'm going to keep believing. And I'm telling you, it was like someone hit me in the forehead with a sledgehammer. Because I wasn't even like atheist at this point. I just had just found out this information and was starting to question, like, how can I believe this? And I wanted my mom to see, like, did you? Because I thought that she'd be like me. Once you're shown this, you'd be like shocked and awed, and then it makes you rethink things. So she wasn't. I was shocked and awed at her reaction. When she reacted that way, then I became an atheist, I think, at that moment. Because I watched a religious person get pure truth that what they believe is complete wrong and go, oh, no, I'm cool. I'm going to keep believing it.
Yeah. I think if most Christians would read their Bible, they would come out a very different kind of Christian than they are now.
True. Especially if they read it with a critical thinking mind. If you just had questions, I'm not saying you have to be an atheist or agnostic or anything. If you just,
Right.
with reason, does this sound reasonable? Everything that you read, blah, 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 does this sound reasonable? With this,
Exactly.
just, like when Paul says that, faith is better than sight. Like, is it though?
Yep.
Is that
No.
really how best we go through the world? Is that our best tool really, is not looking? I mean, it
Right. No, I agree with you there. And my thing with what started me on my path was I really wasn't planning on going atheist at all.
Neither was I. I was planning to be a Christian counselor.
Yeah. So, but my thing was when I started my archaeology classes and I started learning things were like 50,000 years old. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. The earth isn't even 50,000 years old. So then I started digging and then I'm like, they lied to me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm still at the angry point right now.
How long have you? For me, it was 2006.
About 2 years. About the same time I started my channel.
Oh, well, then you're doing phenomenal, because at 2 years, I still thought maybe goddesses were real or something. I wasn't, or spirits or animism might be true. I was still like, I wasn't totally sure about the world. I was like, because even when I was first an atheist, I call myself a spiritual atheist, because I didn't even understand how to use words or thinking or philosophy or anything. And so I get it. I have compassion when people say stuff like that. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I don't agree at all, but I understand. And how can I even fault you, since shit, I did the same thing. So I know you're doing. So I'm just saying, I think that I want to commend you that it's only been 2 years. You're doing great, because at 2 years I had not pulled the damn religion out of my head completely. I mean, because people don't realize it's your whole life. It's why you do almost even wear your clothes. Or just like I wouldn't listen to Slayer, music that I like a lot, because it was evil.
And people, Christians will say, well, you just turned atheist because you want to sin. No, I actually cried my eyes out when I found out, when I finally let myself realize that I did not believe in the Christian God anymore. I cried my eyes out. And that's something Christians don't understand. And I get that. I mean, I probably
Well, I would just one second. You said that Christians wouldn't understand. Some may. I don't like to group. I mean, there's a lot of, like, was it a million or something Christians or something in the world? Or I don't know, or 30, 20 million, or like, I don't know. I don't remember now.
That's fair.
I'm just saying, there could be some. I've met some people that are cool. I mean, we just totally disagree on beliefs, but yeah. But I know what you're saying. There are a lot that are not. So, but I don't want to say everybody. Some people would understand.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I know some cool Christians too.
Right. Some people would understand. They may not agree with us about what we believe either, but they would understand our feelings. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
So is there, you want to tell us about your new book before we go?
Sure. It's on, like I said, it's called The Tree of Lies. And it's basically on the evolution of religion and removing the rationale of faith. I start the book in philosophy, because I think that you need to understand what's good thinking before I tell you all the archaeology. Because I already know, if you think anything like I did, you did not know how to think. And so I basically take you through a process of how we get to good thinking. So the whole first thing is in a sense, like 2 chapters, is debunking faith and that kind of thinking, and then explaining in detail why science can be trusted, or why reason can be trusted, or why logic can be trusted. It kind of like helps you learn critical thinking. And then it basically, it goes from there to as I start telling you little facts about how we evolved as humans, because I'm going to get to religion. So it's important to understand this to me, because our evolution is, I believe, what helps us get to the religion. Because in a sense, if we don't evolve, we don't really get advanced religion. I consider animals to often have kind of a pseudo-animism, where it's not fully developed, I believe, like how we would conceive it, because we're creative. We add more. We have, more, but they still have minds that are very, very similar to us. So I do think that they're doing stuff, but so to me, that goes back to evolution, why I say this. Because I tell people, to me, compassion, people think like it's a human trait. I see it as a trait that we probably got from fish. So, I mean, they school. They know how to work together. These are social skills. Once you have this social mindset, then to me, caring is part of that. And I've seen even the show that made me cry. I don't know if anyone's ever watched it, but it's this, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a show about this underwater photographer and this octopus. And the octopus, he's filming it, and it comes up and it lays on its chest and spreads out like a hug and just sits there for a while. This is a non-aggressive animal that isn't even a social animal, and yet it's doing a social bonding thing. And then every time he'd come back, it would come out to greet him. Eventually it dies, which is like, what? You could have stopped at the happy, dude. Like, whoa. But for me, it shows, boy, caring, that we didn't invent that. It's a Christian, thinking that only humans, get morals from God. It's just, animals have some morals. Animals have ethics, how they behave. They understand and have ways of social behavior.
Right.
I'm not saying they have these advanced ethics. That's what I'm saying. They have even animism. I think it's animism, kind of. But you can tell they don't fully have animism, to me. And this is because they don't like magic very much. If you take some chimpanzees or something, I think I can't remember now what kind of monkey, or primate, I should say, because I don't really know if it's a monkey, but whatever kind of primate, I can't remember now. But there was this video I watched where they showed this primate magic, like they did something and it disappeared. The thing freaked out. Just starts going wild, looking around, running, going crazy. You know why? That's not an animist. They do not believe that magic is possible. Otherwise, you'd be like, "Oh, that's cool." No, freaked out, terrified him. What just that cannot happen. So I know that, like I said, so I get so some people try to tell me that primates gave us animism. And I think that they gave us the seeds for it. Maybe. It definitely, we didn't invent it. But I think it's a progression. It's slowly, as our brain evolved, we became more creative and more emotional, and then more phenomenological, where we're experiential. Experiential is really good because it's fast. Emotions are good because they're fast. That's why I think they're also very old. Fast. They don't require thinking. They're reaction. Response, reaction.
Yeah, emotions are also in our reptilian brain. That would be the brainstem.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm just saying it's very old. I'm just making a comment that, but even if you don't know the science, just the action and the thinking, you can already tell that. And it's like I said, you can see it in animals totally. So it's not like some higher evolved thing. Emotions are not higher evolved. Logic may be, but emotion sure isn't.
Right.
Problem with logic is that we never can do it without emotions. I watched a show by or a thing from this guy is a neuroscientist, and he was talking about that whenever the brain is awake, it's emoting, it's experiential, it's doing emotions, it's emotional response to things. And so you can see when our mind is like flooded with emotions 100% of the time, practically, to some amount or another, why our thinking is terrible. because we're not
Yeah.
doing like clear rational thinking that we think we're doing. We're doing rational kind of thinking, sort of, with like a lot of emotions going on. And so we end up with these very not logical things. And so to me, that's like I said, going back to my book, the beginning of the book basically teaches you like a process, like a this is steps, boom, boom, boom. Just do this, boom, 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 boom. Like I have the hammer of truth, which is basically how I'm going to explain, in a sense, even in my book. I teach you what it is. It's a tool to use of my ability to help you understand how to be very effective in philosophy and yet not know anything about philosophy. You don't have to. With my skill that I teach you, it takes like high schooler in level to understand how to be very competent in thinking just by following the steps. So the three things of the hammer of truth is the ontology, it's the epistemology, and the axiology of things. So the ontology is the thingness of things, and this also can relate to ideas. So when you say God, I want the thingness of that thing. So the term means zero. It does not. I don't know what's holding the term up. You need to put things in that basket that make worth that term God.
Yeah.
So in a sense, they have to qualities. What? And people are like, oh, he's all knowing, all that. Oh, hey, those qualities have some problems. And then people are like, oh, well, no, we have philosophical things. Yeah, but Steve, still, there's nothing even close to that. So you're just postulating out of nothing. You're just like making shit up. I can just make shit up. There's right now an elephant, standing in my middle of my room. I can make shit up, but I mean, there's no reason for you to believe that. So,
Right.
because you have to put things in the justification. You got to make it. Something has to be justified. So that's why whenever someone offers something to you, especially if it's complicated, the first always go to ontology, always. And anything the time they bring up an explanation that you don't fully understand, you have to go back to ontology. Because, in other words, like this, they'll go, I believe in God. And I'll ask them an ontology question. What's a God? And they'll say,
I have no idea.
they'll go, well, I said, well, you said you knew God 100%. What's a God?
Exactly.
And they go, well, a God is a spirit. I go, oh, that's
What's
a
a
new
spirit?
ontology question. What's a spirit? I don't know what a spirit
Right.
is. What's a spirit? Well, it's an inanimate being. What's an inanimate being? One that's no longer human but still is alive. How is that possible? Well, it's an afterlife. What's an afterlife?
Right.
So these are ontology. You can rip into somebody hardcore and make them feel like they don't even know their own name just by doing ontology. Because here's the big thing. We're lazy thinkers. Once again, going back to the emotions, we're emotional thinkers that once in a while we play at logic. So once in a while we do logical things. Most of the time we're shit thinkers. We're really awful when it comes to logic. We're just emotional driven. But you know what? That's what makes life kind of great to have emotions. So I'm not knocking emotions. I'm just making a comment that's not the world to then put towards I know things. When we go to the I know things, you better try to leave that world behind and go to the thinking. So we need to know the ontology. Like I said, it's very easy to pick up because you don't have to understand all my concepts of how I got to why this is important. You just got to do it. Just always ask for ontology. It's like because you know what? We're not born knowing. I don't always know. And you know what? Sometimes the answer they give me, I would have never thought of. I think,
Yeah.
I know what you mean by God. And then they're like, well, actually, what I mean is this bicycle that floats in the sky. And you're like, wow, really? You know what I'm saying? My point is, I've been saying that people can often, and you know what? Also, you allow them for the first time in their life to do something that's intellectually honest. And that is question what they believe.
Yeah.
It is seriously powerful. People always go, oh, Damien, you don't win. I go, dude, I won from the first question. The moment that I was diligent and calm, and I asked them, what is a God, in a very mild tone, generally, they are happy to answer at first because
Yeah.
they are so glad that you want to hear about God until they realize, holy shit, they don't know how to answer the question. In fact, I had a philosopher kick me out of a philosophy group that was not even dedicated to religion, mind you, because of me using ontology. He said I was tricking him. I said, how am I tricking you? So once again, I want to clarify the ontology of what he means by that. And that's what I'm saying. You can just totally, and I said, so he kept trying to get me, and I just kept using ontology. I'm like, and then I said to him, is it not valid? Did I ask for clarification? Which is, guess what? Another question. But so I kept, because I wanted him to see that truly, because he was trying to say that my way is some kind of trick. It's not a trick. It's simply realizing that the most important thing has that you start with ontology. That what are you talking about? Don't even jump to all these. I don't believe it or what. Uh, what do you mean by that? So they're not going to know if I don't believe. Maybe we're not that different, and I don't know.
Right.
You could just say that to you, God is a concept. That's a cultural product that people basically pass because it makes them feel connected to family. And I would go, oh, okay, I agree with that.
Right.
Like, oh, shit. Well, that I would not disagree with. You know what I'm saying? But my point is, so the first thing, but in general, though, and this is the point, though, that this can be used by grade schoolers. This technique that I'm giving you. So all you do is always ask for the what. What are you talking about, right? So what is it? That's the ontology, and you're looking for its beingness, its thingness. So now, like you say, well, I'm sitting in a chair. What do you mean by chair? Because do you mean a couch? Do you mean like a desk chair? Do you mean like a coffee table chair? Do you mean like a stool? You see what I'm saying? There could be different chairs.
Right.
Once again, ontology, you see how quickly we generalize. Because you know what? We're lazy. That's why ontology will get most people. You could take people down with ontology, and it seemed like you're being somehow, mean or something. And it's just, you demand that they have a good answer for their stuff, and they generally don't. And so the guy said to me, no one can answer that, Damien. You're asking a question. What is a God? No one knows what a God is. And I go, wow, finally we do agree on something. I agree. No one knows what the fuck a God is. We agree. Everyone's just making shit up. That's it.
Right.
Because there is nothing. And every person I've ever asked, honestly, has never given me a good answer. And every answer they think is good that I'm able to show them is actually not a good answer because they just appeal to. So they go, this magic is true, and I go, yeah, I don't believe that magic. They go, but look at this magic. This magic proves this magic is true, and I'm like, that's also not true, and it's also magic, and I don't believe that either. And they go, but this other magic explains this other magic that explains the God. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work either. But no, look at this other magic and this other magic, but this other magic, and then that equals God. I'm like, yeah, no. Everything that's they go, it's a spirit, it's a soul, it's and the afterlife. Where's that? What does that mean? How do you know that? Why do you think that? Where did you start? You know what I'm saying? And this is another thing too. I love to do, but I'm going to finish real quickly. So then you go to epistemology, which after they've offered you whatever, right, the clarified answer of the thing. And I'm not saying hound people to get whittled down to the definition. I'm just saying, get an actual good definition, not some wishy-washy, half-baked bullcrap. Get a good definition. Someone offered you a bad definition of a chair and said it, well, sometimes I call it my, carpet. You would not accept that. It was like, well, what?
Right.
No. If we're going to talk about chair, I need to know you're talking about chair, not, sometimes your carpet. I was laying on my chair, Anyways, that I'm just making the point. So it is important and logical to require that people explain things and that they have accuracy to what they're saying. I mean, that's reasonable. So the epistemology then, after you've been given this, then it goes, how do you know that? So first you are, what are you talking about? That's ontology. How do you know that is epistemology. And then my axiology, which I love, says why it's what you've offered of value. Why is it considered truth? Why is it considered beneficial? Why is it considered accurate? What does it have to support it? What is its justification? What is its, accuracy or, level of evidence? These are axiological questions. Because, see, I can't value judge how worthy it is until you have given me the worth. And the only way is not by just claiming God's the best. God is the best of the best. No, the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. He's the highest of gods.
Now you have to give me what you think the best is, which is defining the best, basically.
Right. Well, see, like you just said, what is the best? That's an ontological question. That's a beautiful question. What are you talking about? Should always be the first question. How do you know that? Epistemology is second question. And then why, after they've claimed, see, how do you know that? Only gets to that they've offered this to me, in a sense, in my thinking. Yeah. Then once it is offered, then I take it and I value judge it. Let's see here. Okay, you got no evidence, violates logic and reason. Okay, doesn't even sound plausible. I'm not believing it. You know what I'm saying? I can axiologically judge that you have failed your presupposed belief. You believe that what you had offered was valuable, worthy of belief, and I'm telling you by looking at it, no, it's not.
Yeah, one of the things that one of the arguments, quote unquote, for God that I absolutely love, that I'm going to get to one of these days, is, well, just look all around you. We're here, aren't we? Well, that doesn't mean there's a God.
Right. Well, that's called, in philosophy, that'd be like naive realism, or like I said, animism. Looking around and going, well, I see life there. There must be a great life. I mean, that's just animist thinking, or some kind of spirit around that's helping everything and protecting us and, cares about us. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Animist.
I've said numerous times, you can get me to a deistic God, but if there is a deistic God, there might as well not be a God, because a deistic God doesn't give a shit.
Well, I wouldn't even go there. To me, I can disprove the concept of a God, or certainly I can disprove the concept of a loving God. I can disprove the concept of a God that has any kind of intelligence. How about this?
Yeah.
Is it an intelligent God that has a design flaw that 99% of all living things that have ever existed on this earth have gone extinct? That's a pretty high failure rate. If that was like the plan, God is an asshole.
Yeah.
Or right? So he's immoral. He's either immoral or not reasonable. And
right.
and which would you like to follow? An not reasonable God who's just so stupid doesn't know that shit's like that's gonna happen? So he's so uninformed and unthinking, so he can't be the master of stuff. Then you have the other one who's immoral, realized, hey, things will have to eat each other. Oh, that'll be great. There'll be so much killing. It's a world that will have never-ending death. This is great. I'm going to give them cancers, shitloads, especially child cancers, right when they die. When they're just born or a couple days. Ah, beautiful. I mean, the being that would have put that shit together either does not know what the hell's going on, doesn't care, or is malevolent.
Right. And also, you've got to think about the design of our own bodies. What kind of an intelligent being would put our swallowing hole right by our air hole? I mean, they're the same, basically.
or our erogenous zones, where the places we go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
Like, also not a great design. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what I'm saying. So just on the null hypothesis alone, right? The null hypothesis that, like, in other words, science doesn't believe every wacky thing or is even
Right.
possible until it's been proven, right? No, you have to prove stuff, and then they might kind of agree. Even then, most of them don't always would say they believe it. They kind of agree with what's been shown to this date, in a sense. So there's a big difference in the way that the community is believing things. Community believe,
Right.
to me, I believe with nothing. And that's what I think my book is going to be so good, because I basically break it down. And
Mhm.
just for a real quick thing, so to me, pre-anism is there at least 300,000 years ago. And already there's behaviors of early hominids, pre-humans, that are already doing sort of ritualistic, maybe kind of animistic thinking by burying the dead or whatever. So then at 100,000, to me, humans in a sense get more full animism. But there's a humongous amount of brain development. In my book, I show this. The size of the brain actually grows.
Oh, right. Exactly.
So it reminds me too, and people don't understand, like a chimpanzee. I can't remember now. I think it's a chimpanzee. Maybe it's a bonobo. I don't know. Anyways, some primate again. When they're young, their face looks like ours, in a sense that what a human face, why it doesn't protrude out like say a primate, is
Hmm.
because that's what happens in adults. So all humans are like the runt, or whatever you call it. It's like an adaptive trait that's like a child. So we stay children in the face, in a sense. Do you get what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
Compared to like a regular primate. So we're in the same. It's just that somehow the gene for staying like a child all the way your whole till you die happened for humans, or even before that with like the Soviets. So this new trait, though, I'm saying that we all had is basically just in a sense like a child version gene sort of adaptation that we just never grew an elongated face. So to me, the evolution is like just so obvious in our thing. But so the important about the brain, going back to my book, so the brain helps us understand 100,000 years ago to me is animism. And everybody, I think we got animism, to me personally, possibly from the Neanderthals, transferred ideas from them to us. Then it got cold, and everybody ran to South Africa or died. And so the people, even in Israel, did not stay in Israel. They went back to Africa. And
Okay.
so, what's that?
I said, okay. I thought there were people who stayed um, in Europe and they just put on like a lot of clothing.
Well, I'm talking about 100,000 years ago. You're talking about probably 40 or 50 humans.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
different times. I'm talking about before that. That's
Okay.
more to me when totemism happens, about
Okay.
50,000. So we can go there. It's fine. So, but everyone, I'm just explaining it real quick. Everyone goes, everyone, like, in other words, we leave Africa and we go into Israel. When we went into Israel, we went to the same areas the Neanderthals were already at. They were already burying the dead. And we all of a sudden get their stone tool technology. And then we bury our dead, very similar to the Neanderthals. And I can't remember now if there's a burial of humans that it looks like either a Neanderthal did it or humans almost copied like 100%. So, you know what I'm saying? That either they buried us or they showed us how to bury or something. I mean, it's very, very close. But we didn't stay. They kind of stayed in Israel. Well, actually, they went north, and then they came back to Israel when we left.
Okay.
So we left, and they came back.
Well, that makes sense because we were killing them.
No, I would say, because so here's our DNA, female to a Neanderthal, goes in there about 100,000 years ago. And the Soviet cave in Siberia, there's DNA that shows a link to that a human made it somehow female.
Is that the Denisovans?
The Denisovans cave, or the Denisovans, or they had picked up the DNA maybe in Israel and then took it all the way to the Denosis Cave 100,000 years ago. So, or they went there and up. Anyways, my point is, so I don't think we're killing them, because first they had different kind of technology. We had a lot lighter technology. Theirs was a little different, but they were also hunting different animals at the time.
Right.
So, but anyways, when we interact with them at 100,000, then we start for the first time bearing. We didn't bear people for this. Then all of a sudden we start bearing people. And like I said, it got cold. Everyone goes down to South Africa. Guess what? South Africa gets Israel burials. Well, that's because it's similar people. I'm not saying exact same people. They could have died on the way, but the idea, whatever. But anyways, so everyone goes down in a sense, like, hides out of the cold. And then they all start going back up. So but when they're down there, 70,000 to 75,000 years ago is the first worship of a stone snake. It's a big old snake out there. So in a sense, I see that as definitely animism. You got the graves, you got the snake. It's happening. Then they go up towards, to Europe. But before they go, either they started to invent or make a kind of a totemism clan thing in Africa and then went to Europe, or it, because of Europe, started. It happens in Europe, but I almost think the seeds of it were already in Africa, because 60,000 years ago, there's these ostrich shells that have like markings on them that are like probably family or clan specific. So they're bearing it, reason because they get water and then they store it like a container sort of in the ground in an ostrich egg. And they come back later to get water when they need it, or when it's dry season or whatever, or whatever. I don't know exactly, but anyways, they get when they need the water. So when they get the water, they need to know whose water it is. So they're already starting this thing of making sure they get their water. And I think that is similar to because totemism is kind of like clan and religion. It's kind of like family dynamics and religion together. So it could have kind of started, I don't think so, but the seeds for it certainly were already doing something in Africa before they left. So, because I say that in Europe, when we met the Neanderthals again, not just in Israel, because we met them again in Israel, I think at 56,000 years ago, but we met them again after Israel in Europe. Like you said, when we started probably killing them. And there's the difference. The next time we met the Neanderthals, it was our men taking their women. So that sounds a lot more like killing to me.
Yeah, because I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's only one way Neanderthals and humans could procreate, and that was a human woman and a Neanderthal man. Is that correct?
No. It happened both ways. That's what I said. When we left 100,000 years ago, a human woman mated with a Neanderthal man. Okay. Then 50,000 years ago, or 56 or whatever, sometime around there, or after there, around 50,000. Then humans mated with Neanderthal females mainly. There could be some outliers, I don't know exactly, but the majority, I guarantee, is that.
Okay.
Because the separation, but it happens on both. So, yes, either way, we're not that separate. I think we separated. I talk about it in my book. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think 700,000. So
that sounds about right.
I think that's what it is, but it could be further back. But also things get updated in archaeology, and I haven't thought about that stuff in a long time because I just ended my book at 4,000. So I'm way more. I've been more thinking about the 4,000 stuff, and like you said, Mesopotamia and Israel and things most people know now than all the pre-stuff. Even though I found that the most interesting at first.
Yeah, and because we update all the time, that's why I'm not totally up to date on my facts. So,
Yeah, well, also, like, I know stuff because I do deep research. I mean, I
Yeah,
really research and research and research, and even when it's once again because I update my beliefs. That's part of my belief etiquette, which is
yeah.
that, like I told you, I have good belief maintenance. That I want to
Mhm.
make sure I still get it. Do I still understand? Do I still know? And then I read it again, read it again, read it again. Does it still make sense? Do I still think the same thing? Do I?
Right, right.
Because sometimes, well, just like they showed that judges, if they didn't have a meal, would do more harsh convictions like before lunch, and they were a lot easier after lunch. So it
Well,
just shows that our emotional,
that would make sense.
but it shows how much our emotions impact our logic. I mean, we
Yeah,
think,
it
oh,
does.
I think for myself. All my decisions are my own. Yeah, well, I agree, kind of, but we're definitely like floating in a sea of me, like all these
Yeah,
feelings, emotions, reactions, whatever, trying to operate, and we get overloaded, and sometimes have to turn that system off.
right. Okay, well, thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I I told my audience we were going to nerd out. I hope you don't mind that term. It's a compliment.
Yeah, I don't think of myself generally as that. I'm like a metalhead and a goth, and I
Ah,
like rap, but I like dance music, and I like Spanish music, but yeah, but the reason why I say when people say nerd, generally, I don't just think of like scholarly. I think of that people were talking about like that you like comic books and that kind of stuff, and I don't like any of that stuff.
okay.
So that's
Well,
what. But I mean, you can certainly say that. But if you're talking scholarly stuff, I mean, I love it.
yeah,
I don't get to do
yeah,
it that often.
yeah, me too. So, like I said, thank you for coming on, and I'll talk to you later.
All right,
And you can drop out whenever you want.
all right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you again.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, anti-theism, anti-religionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheist can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudohistory, pseudo-morality, things that are found in religion. I support realism, axiology, of course, liberty, justice, ethics. I am also an anarchist socialist. I support anarchism and socialism, progressivism, liberalism, philosophy, psychology, archaeology, and anthropology, advocating for sexual, gender, child, secular, LGBTQIA+, race, class rights, and equality. So if you can guess from all that, I support or challenge that I have an eclectic variety of videos on a variety of topics. Please take time to check them out, as well as if you enjoy them, please give them a like. And don't forget to subscribe, as new things are on their way all the time for my channel.